All right, looks like we are live. Hey, Facebook, hey, friends, let me just go ahead and tag you and a few people. And if you are starting to see this stream in your, if you're starting to watch, sorry, of course, I always get distracted when I'm trying to do more than one thing at once. So, but if you're starting to see this, please say hello. Miro and I are here. We're gonna chat for just a little bit. And we thought that it was an important conversation to have about normalizing, talking about your feelings and really saying that it's okay to talk about your feelings. So, yeah, let me just share this. Yeah, so hi, Miro. How's it going?
I'm here. Hello. It's
Yeah.
going pretty well. I'm excited to be on here to talk just a little bit about the subject. I think it is really important. Especially, I guess, I could talk from the perspective of somebody who was once a boy. I think that is specifically there's a lot of importance there when it comes to normalizing talking about your feelings, your internal experiences, being vulnerable. Like these are things that are really important. And I think there's a bit of a stigma surrounding that for boys especially. So I guess I could speak more to that from that angle. Um, but it's of course just important for everyone to be able to be open and to share what's going on. So
Exactly. Okay, so I've now shared it a couple of places. Hopefully, people will join us. It's always interesting when we start our lives. We have an intention. We know what we want to talk about. There's a reason why we're here. But really, in the greater scope of things, really, I am passionate about normalizing, having conversations about our feelings. Some people call it emotional intelligence. Other people call it, doing self inquiry. And whatever it is, I want to normalize again, making sure that people, young people especially, have a safe space and they know that they're seen, heard, and understood and not judged. And they have a space where showing up and talking about feelings and exploring all of those different aspects is something that is welcoming, is something that we can normalize together. And you, Miro, obviously you were raised by somebody, me, who is touchy feely, always talking, not literally touchy feely, but always talking about emotions and perceptions and thoughts and feelings. And I was always very emotive and always encouraged you to kind of check in and see, well, what are you feeling about this? Or what's your perception? Or, how are your feelings affecting how you're seeing this thing? And this was part of our normal dialogue throughout your entire life. Like there's no getting around that, right?
yeah, absolutely. I do like to think that as a result of it, I have become very introspective. I think I generally have a pretty good idea of what's going on in here, in my head, and I think that is pretty much what it comes down to because we made exploring those things, an exercise that we could both partake in, right? And we could have conversations, we can go back and forth, we can really explore these things and exploring these things in a social way is really important because it helps you get out of your head, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get stuck in these recurring thoughts. Maybe you ruminate, right? Where you start thinking on one thing and you can't help it, but you just keep thinking into it deeper. And it's not that you're exploring it, but you're cementing yourself into one way of seeing whatever you're trying to explore. And that can be harmful. That's, when you get stuck in some kind of bad places. But what can you do about that? The best way to combat that is to get it out of your head, to get off your chest and to talk to somebody and to try to explore it from a different way. And doing that in a social way is really what helps, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with you. So it's interesting that you use the language "I'm in my head." And for somebody who is, very much in touch with the whole feeling side of things, the way that I describe things is, "I'm in my heart. How are you feeling?" Yet the language you use is "I'm thinking this." And understanding that in some cases we're communicating the same things, but in other cases we are coming at it from different perspectives. And you and I really um, paved the way that you and I communicated. Like, we came together in an understanding. And I remember when you were very young and this drove you nuts, and I know that you could tell everybody that this drove you nuts. But when things would happen and I'd ask you how you'd feel, you'd say, well, so and so and this and that and blah, blah blah. Like, you were so involved in the thought process, and I wanted to hear the thought process, but what you didn't realize was you weren't answering the question that I was asking in that moment. So you and I had this language where I'd say, "Okay, stop with the story just for a moment, and now let's shift." And do you remember? And you'd always say, "Oh, I want to tell you the story." But it was always about shifting the attention and recognizing the difference between the thought and the feeling. And not one was more important than the other. But I was trying from a very early age to really normalize talking about the feelings too, especially important because you are a boy or a male. And I wanted to make sure that that was part of your general upbringing. Yeah. Do you remember?
Yeah, of course. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, I guess one of the things that we're talking about, and the reason why we came on, is we are co-teaching or co-facilitating. The word teaching is not really accurate. We're sharing some information, we're workshopping some exercises, and we're holding space for young people to be able to have these kinds of experiences, right? And I guess in a way, here's a bit of information, but that's not really the whole scope of it.
Mm.
The course that we're producing together, this will be the second time we're running the course, and it's for young people. It's for young people ages 11 to about 13. 10 is okay too. Yeah. 10,
Yeah. Again, I mean,
10 to 13.
as with most of our programs that we've produced over the years, age has always been, we've always tried to stay away from age requirements and as a like an arbitrary um, restriction, right? Because at the end of the day, I both of us feel that age is very arbitrary, right?
Ah,
Because a certain 10-year-old who is interested in the topic, who is eager to explore this, might even be a better fit than a 12-year-old who is within our age range, right? So again, it's always on an individual case by case basis. And we're very flexible. That flexibility has always been very important to us as unschoolers. And so that's something that I always want to point out is that, yes, if the program says 11 to 13, but if you have a 10-year-old who is talking about the stuff, who's wanting to do it, then we're always happy to make things work.
so, one of the things that I'm so grateful to be working with you, and one of the reasons why I'm so grateful is you've got a really big, wonderful understanding of this age group. Like, you work with this age group in another capacity, and you have a lot of experience, not only through the Project World School Family Summits, facilitating the kids camp, but gamifying things that are really important. So it's not just playing for, I mean, play is great. Like, I love play. I'm one of the biggest playful adults you'll ever meet. But you've got a really great knack of being able to take a concept and translate it through an activity that is very playful and create space for people to workshop these big ideas. And I love developing this course with you because of that. You want to talk about kind of the playfulness of facilitation?
Sure. I mean, I think it's a very important concept. I think um, making it very hands-on, and our last course that we did was very hands-on. We had a number of different activities for the different concepts, and that's something that like I think contextualizes the experience, because like for example, like you just said, you know, when you were using the language of teaching, right? It's not exactly right because we're not really teaching these things. Instead, what we're doing is we're facilitating exploration into these topics through activities, through games, through back and forth conversation, and really at the end of the day, this is achieved in a number of different ways that I just mentioned, but it's all about putting the ball into their court, right? And it's about giving them the agency to explore these things within, first of all, within a safe space, within a group of peers that are, caring and understanding and patient. And, of course, you have to be doing this stuff on your own because nobody can tell you how to best exist or how to best process your own emotions.
Right.
It's not going to happen. That's something you have to do for yourself. So all we can do, and the best thing that we can do, is to put the ball in their court, and that's really what these sessions are all about. Because we have a lot of really great dialogues. Where we might kick it off by talking about it a little bit, by sharing our own personal stuff. But then once the ball gets rolling and people are jumping in and sharing their own personal experience and then relating to others as they're doing the same thing, that has a really big effect that just keeps growing, keeps getting more powerful as these sessions go on. So that kind of gives you, I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of, kind of like the ethos of what we do. Yeah.
And it's not just about the feeling, it's about belief systems, it's about core values, it's about really, like you said, having the agency to know self, to say, this is meaningful to me, this value
And
is meaningful to me, and this is not.
and also in addition to that, it's exposure to other ways of being, right? And even though if somebody else in the group shares something that I don't necessarily relate to, there's still value in that because I'm experiencing another way that somebody else is understanding the world. And sometimes those things will click and I might say, oh, actually I see a fragment of myself in what this person just said. I can relate with that. And sometimes it doesn't, but at the end of the day, it's all valuable because it gives us a more comprehensive understanding, not only of the world, but of how other people fit into the world and how we fit into the world.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the goal, right? Is trying to figure out how we best navigate this crazy life that we find ourselves in. That's it.
One
So
of
we're
the
all trying to figure it
Yeah, right. One of the other things that makes our transformative mentoring for teens 8-week course for this age group so incredibly powerful is, I mean, if you are noticing the way that Miro and I speak to each other, I've treated him in within the concept of partnership, and there is not an authoritarian sort of paradigm with how we interact with each other. And there is that same ethos taken, in our classes, in our courses. And what that means is Miro and I show up and partner with young people. Like a 10-year-old is just as important as a 50-year-old. And that shifts sort of how the energy flows, right? Because what they say is just as equally as important as what somebody else says, and that creates a different way of being. It's powerful to be recognized as an individual, right? Even if you're not, even if that's such the wrong way to say it, but regardless of age, where you are in your life in terms of your development. We're all individuals and we all hold such tremendous value. And I want to give time and energy to hear what the perspective is of somebody who's joining us for a class like this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. What could you add to that?
Absolutely. I
So
mean,
go
I
ahead.
could say like I think, you know, all these kids that we've interacted with, they're all so brilliant and so thoughtful. But the kicker is you would never know that if they didn't have the space that they felt safe to
Yeah.
actually display those things, right? And so yeah, I think first and foremost, the priority needs to be on creating a space that's conducive to this kind of exploration, to this kind of dialogue, and to this kind of development. And you'd be surprised at the things that they say, the things that they're thinking about, and what they're willing to share and explore. And it's shock. I shouldn't say shocking every time, but it's like it's really awesome to see.
It's life affirming to know that the young people that we've worked with so far are so introspective, that have such great thoughts and perspectives about the world, and are starting to feel confident in sharing the introspection about self and who they could be. And it's not easy having those kinds of conversations, but again, there is tremendous care in creating that kind of environment or space so we can do that. So I just want to kind of briefly touch on some of the topics that we go over, that we workshop over the 8 weeks in our tween course. Core values. Whoa, did you hear that? It was
Yeah.
thunder. Core values, world views, how we see the world through different lenses and perspectives. We talk about philosophy. How do we integrate philosophical concepts into how we see ourselves, or how we learn, or how we interact in systems? And you know what? At 10 years old or 12 years old, it's a really powerful exploration to think about. We talk about self advocacy, we talk about consent, we talk about boundaries. So we bring in tools and techniques like nonviolent communication or other techniques of conflict resolution. And all the stuff that we bring in, it's not like standing in front of the class and teaching. We bring it in as a discussion, and then we workshop these things from all these different perspectives. So it's like an experiential learning. Like we get to play and be the person who's not creating a resolution in a conflict, and see how that feels. We get to, all the different aspects um, of the experience of learning. Yeah, it's not passive.
No, it's a very active experience. I mean, and it has to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
This development can't be done to you.
Right.
That's right. Self-development is something that you do for yourself, and that's an active process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. A couple of other topics that I love. I love the media literacy side of things, and I love exploring that. And I also love learning about logical fallacies, and I think those are really important too. So it's not just inward, but it's stuff that will serve each one of us. And every time I do one of these courses with young people, I learn. Like I am learning. It is so powerful. So, yeah, just wanted to pop on here and share a little bit about what we're doing. Let me take a moment and see if there are any questions from the people who are watching. We've got a few people watching. If you're watching now, please let us know you're here. And oh, let's see. Yeah, we're still live. So if please let us know that you're here. And if you have any questions for either Miro or myself, do pop them into the comments. We have a course, like I said, for teens and tweens, younger teens, starting on July 12th. So that is the day that it's going to start. It's going to run on Mondays. We don't know the time yet. We usually do a survey among the participants and find the best time for everybody. Um, so, if you are interested in having your young person join us, please do get in an application. We would love to have a nice big group of young people excited about learning about all of these different things. And yeah, so that's it. Did you have any final words or anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I think we pretty much covered it, but I'm again just really excited about this program. I think it was so amazing watching all of this growth happen over the last iteration of it.
Yeah.
And again, the beauty of it is, with each iteration, it's just going to get better as we adapt, right? Because the program itself is, adapting and is, picking up, what we see people are responding to, and how we can best support everybody. So everything is fluid, and I think that that's a really, really beautiful thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for popping in here and chatting with your mom.
Of course.
All right. So we'll drop those links into the chat and please do share this with friends. Share this with your homeschool community. Like I said, it's an online course. It's going to run 8 weeks and it's going to start July 12th and it's going to run on Monday. So thanks again.
So